summer of 2008, I first experienced El Salvador and the history that brings many of you here today. I am currently Dr. Kelly's assistant for the Creighton theology class and will be returning this summer for my third trip to El Salvador. Without a doubt, this class transforms its students and enhances the meaning of a Jesuit education for them. The spirits of the martyrs of El Salvador were resurrected in the Salvadoran people and continue to spread through the passion of students like ourselves who experience El Salvador and keep the revolution of love, faith, and human dignity alive. I have asked myself many times why we say presente, why it is the chant of this protest, this revolution. I believe we are speaking because we have learned the call they chanted back in the 1980s. We have felt that call in our lives today, and we feel the need to scream that call out for justice in the future. Without the constant call for justice to be present with the poor and marginalized in our society, the goals of these Salvadoran martyrs will be dead. We keep this call alive by using our voices to speak for those who cannot yet use their own. We continue the fight for the people of God these martyrs so vehemently fought for in prayer, education, and love. I first heard the faint cry of presente in the hushed Spanish voices of my Salvadoran families. I listened to their horror stories from the 12-year civil war they endured. I walked the path that mi madre, without shoes, food, or water, was forced to travel. She looked me in the eye as she recounted struggling to take care of her children during a time of incomprehensible terror. I cried with mi abuelo as he told me about the horrible images of people being ripped apart with knives, fetuses stolen from pregnant women's wombs, and children abducted from parents to be used for adoption to richer countries such as ours. I have learned what it means to accompany the poor, as so many revolutionary priests did and still do today. To look terror in the face and learn about oppression from the oppressed is an experience that one cannot ever fully describe in words. One must feel it, understand it, and move forward living with it. To understand this, one must be presente. The march and call of presente became louder as I realized the connection I had with 4 other martyrs from El Salvador: Maura Clark, Ida Ford, Dorothy Kazel, and Jean Donovan. The first time I learned about the martyred American church women was the moment that I finally felt a personal connection to what happened with these people. Why? Because they looked like me. Maura, Ida, Dorothy, and Jean were just like me. They fell in love with a foreign land and felt the call to walk with the poor. Ultimately, their mother country tax dollars funded the guns and squads that executed their deaths. Many people killed in the Salvadoran War were never found or recorded as dead. There were many martyrs in this war, whether they had a religious title or not. The Salvadoran campesinos died fighting for their own human dignity and the right to believe that they were God's people. To the world, one of their deaths was a number rather than a name. They were not Spanish priests or American women, so the masses remain nameless and an enormous number to represent the dead. I, like Maura, Ida, Dorothy, and Jean, have a face, a name, and a voice in this world because of my privileged background. I realize that my call to being presente extends past listening to stories and traveling to learn from the marginalized. Those experiences would be nothing if I did not bring something back to my community and my country, sharing with others what I have learned. My call is to use my privilege and voice to let others know about the truth and injustice that is present in our world and what ways we can work together to change it. I stand here today with all of you, and the booming sound of the call, Presente, reverberates throughout my body and soul. When the Jesuits were brutally murdered at the UCA 20 years ago, the Salvadoran army announced that the intellectual writers of the revolution had been killed. I am here today to say that the intellectual writers of this revolution are not dead. We are all a part of this revolution, this constant fight for social justice, for equal human rights, and for a brighter future that God intended for us. Every time we say Presente, we make the call for justice louder. Every time we live Presente, we use our passion to start a revolution. Arm in arm, we will show others what we now know about being Presente. Let us go forth, and as they say in El Salvador, se vaya bien.
Some good news for those of you standing. You are invited to fill empty seats. Those of you who are standing in the back, please feel free to move up to seats that are empty. Seats are no longer available to be saved. Please move forward. There's some empty seats up here. There's empty seats all